Yo everyone, welcome to Amps, Pedals and Pickups. It's your boy Nathan, and today we're going to take a look at how to measure your DI and Reamp setup. Now this is a sort of part 2 to the topic of amp sim and NAM capture accuracy and why it's also important. So if you haven't seen that video, it's probably worth checking out. I'll leave a link to it up here. And just to recap, if you're plugging directly into your interface, then you can easily know what those levels are based on the info from the manuals. But if you're using DI boxes or preamps, then the gain levels can be all over the place. So we just need to measure things with a multimeter and get the numbers that we're after. Now we're going to look at a few different setups and scenarios. So if you're looking for something specific, then check the timestamps in the video below. Otherwise, if what you're looking for isn't covered here, then let me know in the comments below, because I've been collecting some questions for a sort of final Q&A video and I can include all of those in there. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is measure and calibrate the Reamp box. Here I'm using a Creation Audio MW1. Now we need the multimeter to measure things, so just grab an instrument cable, plug one end into the Reamp box, then I use these alligator clips to hold everything in place. Now for the settings, set the multimeter to measure voltage. We want to measure AC, and I'll also disable this auto thing. This setting here on the multimeter is going to be the same for every scenario, so I'm not going to keep showing you the multimeter settings. It's always going to be the same. We're just going to be watching the measurement numbers from here on out. Alright, so for me, in general here, conceptually, I want my Reamp out setup calibrated to -13 dBFS, and that's just because my interface uses 13 dBu of headroom as the input spec. 13 isn't some magic number, it's just what makes sense around here. You can obviously use whatever you want. Alright, let's take a look at these spreadsheets that Ed S has created, and once again, huge shout out to Ed and James Freeman for doing all the legwork. We're really just enjoying the fruits of their labor at this point. Links to all these spreadsheets are going to be down below, so go grab them, make a copy if you want to follow along. Alright, so there's a bunch of numbers here. I will just go through everything methodically. So the first one here, 0.5, this is going to be our target for the multimeter. Let's just remember 0.5 for now. Now in this scenario here, I'm calibrating my Reamp box to a certain value. So I want to calibrate it to 13 dBu here, which is the same as -13 dBFS. So I'm going to leave that at 13 is what I'm going to set it to. Now it's telling me that I need to set my sine wave level to 16.8. Conceptually, what we're doing is we're going to open up the door and we're going to send a sine wave out at 1K, and that's going to be our sort of test signal that we're going to send through the equipment. So in general, this setup here that I've got in Reaper, this first track is direct from the interface out. I've got a cable for that. This is from the Reamp box out. So obviously the Reamp box is connected to the RME, and that's what we're going to use to calibrate the Reamp box here. And then these next two are inputs. So this is the direct input to the RME unit, input 4, and then I also have the MW1. It's a Reamp and DI box in one. If I plug into the MW1, my guitar, this is the input that we're going to use. So I've got my signal generator here, so I'll just pull it up. So the signal generator is all the way down. The Reamp level on the Reamp box is all the way down. Now the spreadsheet was telling us that we needed -16.8 for the signal for our sine wave generator, so let's just set it to that. All right, so we've got that going. I actually need to turn on the plugin for it to do something. So now it's sending the signal out of the interface into the Reamp box, and I'll just flick over to the other camera. So if we take a look here at the Reamp box, it's set all the way to 0. This is the Reamp gain, if you will. So we just want to hit a target of 0.5, so I'm just going to gain this up. Now the MW1's a little bit finicky. You'll probably hear me say that a few times. So you sort of just feather things in place. Doesn't have to be exact, but as close as possible. That's totally fine. So that's our 0.5 target. And right there, ladies and gentlemen, that's how we calibrate a Reamp box to a specific value. In my case, I've set it to 13 dBu of headroom. So hopefully that's made sense. If it hasn't, rewind it, leave me a comment, join Discord. Don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button if you like what you see here. But let's run through a different scenario. Let's say you have your Reamp box set to a specific level. You don't want anyone to come along and touch things. That's totally fine. You just want to measure how things are. Why don't we go over? So this is roughly 13 dBu. How like we just calibrated everything to that. But let's just move it around. We'll just move it to some random spec. We'll just take it to there. I don't know what it is. We'll use the spreadsheet and all this sort of stuff to figure it out. So I could probably do a separate spreadsheet to make this work a little bit nicer, but it's fine. We can just use this one here. We just need to balance the numbers out in a little bit of a different way. So I've taken the sine wave generator down all the way. I'm just gonna gain up the sine wave generator till I hit 0.5 on the Reamp box. So let's go and do that. So we're all the way down here. Let's get this 0.5 going. So up there, up there, up. Keep going, almost there, very close. Okay, in between these two, close enough, there we go. So I just feathered it in, minus 22.6 is what this is telling me. So we've got two numbers from the spreadsheet. We know the multimeter is set to that 0.500. We know that the amplitude of the sine wave going out is a minus 22.6. So we just sort of need to type in a number here to make the green number minus 22.6. So we'll just take a guess, 10, nah. 20, nah. Alright, so I'm actually editing the video and I realized that somehow I got mixed up with the numbers. Reaper was telling us to aim for minus 22.6 and for some reason in my mind I was aiming for minus 26. But anyway, the right number for minus 22.6 is calculated at 18.8 dBu based on this calculator here. Once again, I know I've zipped through it, but you have the power of rewind here on YouTube. Rewind it, and as always, if things don't make sense, leave me a comment below. Alright, so that's the reamp side of things. Let's take a look at measuring the DI input of your setup. I'll do a first measurements here directly to the RME interface because I want to show you that this process is pretty airtight. You know, we're kind of cheating here because we know that this interface uses 13 dBu going straight into that input 4. But let's follow the instructions of the spreadsheet and see how we go. Alright, cool. So I've just pulled up the, it's a different spreadsheet. This is the guitar DI dBu calculator. So it will be set to 0.5. I've just been a bit of a narc here because I still have that 0.505 from before. And, you know, we'll just be precise with this stuff. So we're going to set it to 0.505. Let's just zero that out for a second. So now that we know that there's 0.505 worth of signal coming out of the reamp box, we're going to take the other end of that cable, put it into whatever input we want, and we can start measuring things. So I'm going to unhook it from the multimeter. So from here on out, the multimeter is pretty useless because I just needed to get that signal going. I've measured the signal, I have the signal here, and I can just start probing this into different inputs. So we'll go straight into the RME input, which we know should be 13 dBu headroom. So let's go into Reaper and see what that's coming in at. So this is the signal coming out of the reamp box. We don't need to worry about that. So we're plugging direct into the RME. I'll just arm that track, and it's telling me that this is you know, 16.7, 16.8. I just click there to refresh things, and then we'll type that into here. So it's coming in as minus 16.8. There we go. It's telling us in the red column there, 13 dBu of headroom. Once again, that orange is just a calculation. Don't worry about that. We know it's 13. It's coming in at 13. Everything's balancing there. Pretty great. All right, so I just pulled up the RME software. So this is the input that we're plugging into. I'm actually going to change this to 19. And let's just see if we see that reflect in the spreadsheet as well. So now it's telling us 22.8 minus 22.8. Bada bing, bada boom, it's telling us 19 dBu. So I wanted to do this example first just to show you that the spreadsheets and the math of everything is pretty airtight. Alright, so the last thing we're going to do is measure the input of the MW1 unit. So even though the MW1 is spitting out that 0.505 signal, we can actually just take a cable and plug straight back into itself. And I've actually zeroed out the gain on that input, which is here. And I want to calibrate this input to 13 dBu. 13 is the magic number with my setup, so let's get everything going to 13 dBu on this input as well. As is, with no gain on that unit, Reaper's telling me it's coming up at minus 23.6. So as it is now, with no gain on the input of the RME, it's at 19.9 basically dBu of headroom. We know we want that to 13, so let's increase the gain a little bit. And so what I've just done is I've actually just typed in minus 16.8. I just played around with the numbers to make sure that that is the 13 dBu of headroom that we want. So now I'm going to go back into Reaper. I'm going to shoot for that minus 16.8 number, but I'll do that by gaining up the actual MW1 interface. So we can see now it's sitting at 23.6, and I want that to be 16.8. So we'll just roll this up a little bit. There we have it. A little bit hard to do one-handed. When I'm off camera, things are a lot quicker, but we can see now the signal coming into the MW1 input, minus 16.8, and that is just balancing the spreadsheet. So that's how we can calibrate an external DI to a specific number we want. So there we have it. Use those spreadsheets, link down below, to measure and calibrate your setup. You know, I'm going to keep saying this, but it's actually such a simple process once you've done the things once or twice. It literally takes me under a minute to pull out the multimeter, fire up the spreadsheet, and just sanity check all my reamp and DI levels. Every setup's going to be a little bit different. For me, I just find the MW1 knobs to be super touch sensitive. So if a couple of weeks has passed and I'm about to do some NAM captures, reamps, lay down some guitars, and I'm using that MW1 unit, I just spend a minute or so measuring the reamp and DI and just move on with the rest of my session. If I was using some other reamp device that had like stepped measurements, or it was just less sensitive to micro adjustments, I'd probably even measure this stuff less, but this one, it just needs a checking every now and then. Alright, cool, a little bit of an info dump there, but once again, you can rewind things, rewatch things. As always, leave me comments below or in Discord. I think I've got 1 or 2 more videos in this series, and they're going to be general questions about this topic. You know, it's great to see so many people asking stuff, and I got a bunch of questions already from the last video, so thank you for everyone who's asking different questions away. I can't possibly think of everything and jam it all in these videos. I just wanted to make these first 2 videos a general comfortability with the topic, and then we can ask some questions from there. Of course, don't forget to, you know, like, subscribe, all that good stuff to stay up to date, to check those next videos out, and feel free to jump on Discord server and ask these sorts of questions. I'm sure somebody will be there to help you out with all that stuff. And as always, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. You're a legend, and I'll catch you on the next one.